fire on the occupants and the police escorts. And one of the victims reportedly killed was an Okada rider, really sad, who was oblivious of the mission of the occupants of that Sienna. Really would take the hoodlum's vehicle when he was shot dead by the robbers. Really sad. Now, the eyewitnesses, those residents who stay around the area, also said that the escorts engaged, this is police escorts now, engaged the robbers in the shootout. Is what I just said. Adding that the hoodlums outnumbered the operatives and killed two of them. So it's unfortunate. I remember the video that was trending online of a South African heist, bullion van heist, and these guys were in the bullion van driving, and they refused to come down till they drove, because they knew it was bulletproof, till they drove to the destination place more secure, where they could have backup to attack the robbers. It's really sad, really sad. Mercy, we have two policemen dying in the course of duty. I know Nigerians always have criticism for the police when they go out of line, but I don't think there's any Nigerian who will be happy to hear that a policeman has died.
No, but contrary to all of that, now you also have some persons saying that this actually happened very close to a very big, that's the word I would say, close to a police station. It was just few meters. That's the argument right now, and people are saying that this, robbery incident, the attack on the Villian van happened very close to, police station, a prison. They talked about also a testing ground. And so some people are saying, what's going on? Should we begin to question the police? How come we didn't have, efforts, see efforts from the police station? So you want to expect that if you have a police station that's very around, and then you should have police officers who would intervene. But another question you want to ask yourself again is, were they armed? It's also another thing. Did they have what it takes to attack them? The argument is on. One of the arguments, some people are saying that, these are human beings and we should make an excuse for them. And others are saying, no, they are trained for these and they cannot take cover while you have civilians. Just ordinary civilians taking cover. There should actually be. But it's really sad. It just brings us back to the conversation. The main conversation and the gist here is that security is still top on the list. And there's a lot that we need to do. We cannot fold our arms and say, this is not actually happening to me right now at this point in time, and therefore let's overlook it. Like we always know, the top on the list is that security and protection of lives and properties of citizens should be a priority of every government. Now, you have security challenges in Nigeria, because if you look at the country Nigeria, the security challenges are encompassing. From the fact that you have almost 10 million out-of-school children and social vices, you cannot take that away, to the fact that we need to pay attention. When you have, a police station very close to where this incident is happening, then you expect that there would be, that particular attack. But another question is, the police station that's close by, are they properly equipped? Do they have what it takes? Were they armed, to attack these armed robbers and all of that? But this is what I am hoping, and a lot of Nigerians are also anticipating that the law would actually take its course, and those who were responsible, those behind this criminal act, would be brought to book without any missing or missing of words.
That's the expectation, and of course we expect that they'll be brought to book, but it's easier said than done. The facilities and the technology and the competence of security agencies to follow through with cases, get to the bottom of cases and fish out culprits, usually is hampered by some of the things that they don't have. And they are overburdened and saddled with the responsibility of so many cases. If we want to take a look at the unexplained, uninvestigated, or incomplete cases that the police have, they are not able to get to the bottom of things because of some of the limitations that they face. It's a lot. It's a lot. I call them unsolved cases. It's a lot. We do hope they can get to the bottom of this and that the culprits can be brought to book. I know that the Inspector General of Police is also on top of this as well. But it is sad that we have 3 people being needlessly killed. In such a manner, you know, a motorcyclist who was going around his business left the house and, you know, expected to make his daily, you know, income to go back home to his family, just his life snuffed out like that. You know, and then two police officers also went to work expecting. It may have been maybe wiser to, some are saying, to keep going, you know, to keep going and to drive all the way to the point of where they can have, you know, maybe enter a station, for instance, and have backup. But I'm not an open pickup truck. Basically, that's what it is. Or should it also be in a bulletproof vehicle to make sure they're safe? Because you can't just say, okay, 4 or 5 policemen, they could be outnumbered at some time. Look at now, they were outfired, you know, outgunned. So it's really sad, really sad.
So like you rightly mentioned, and like I have also stated, and Nigerians are anticipating that those responsible for this crime will be brought to book, and that's what it is. If you want to begin to look at how this actually happened, even though you're not there, you would definitely tell that there probably would have been an intel. And having intel is one thing that we haven't been. I mean, you have a lot of security experts saying that we haven't been very great with intel in terms of security. So yes, I'm sure that there probably would have been an information from within, you know, to get to that particular point. But fingers are really crossed, and we'll see how all of this pan out. We're hoping that the police here and every security agency would bring those behind this to book, and the law and justice would actually have its place. And our heart actually goes out to those who have lost their lives in the course of this, including, you know, the men of the Nigerian police force. Our heart really goes out to them. And we pray that justice actually be meted out.
So we have some more trending stories, Mercy?
Yes, and looking at also another trending story is the fact that the Central Bank of Nigeria has put out deposit money banks on notice that they will stop selling forex to them by the end of 2022, and this has also generated a lot of controversy. So some people are asking that if you have the CBN saying we're not going to be selling forex to the deposit, I mean all of these banks now, how do you expect them? Where do they source from? The question is, so where are they going to be sourcing forex from? So it's a question right now. And I really do not know what the CBN governor, I don't know what would be the reason for all of this policy or this policy at this point in time. But fingers are crossed, and we hope that we get more of the conversation as we proceed.
Yeah, it's a lot that is it's unclear as of now. I mean, even if you go through all the sources, we've still not gotten the exact entire information. But you know, Nigerians and people in this country, even foreigners, go to the deposit money banks to obtain this forex, and but not all Nigerians can obtain the foreign exchange or foreign currency or hard currency, like they call it, from the deposit money banks. You know, a majority of us go to the streets, the black market, to get this, you understand. And what the CBN has tried to do to protect the Naira, because it's been, the Naira has been battered, really seriously battered. What the CBN has tried to do before now was to try different strategies to try and protect the Naira. And the first thing I can remember was to chase away some so-called abokis who were selling. Sorry, Messi. Hold on. Who were selling USD and doing the black market thing in Abuja? What happened? We were told. I read in one of the papers that they had to hack down some trees on the streets of Abuja so that these guys can't stand there to exchange, you know, some money. But I won't be surprised if the CBN had denied it. I didn't see that. Then secondly, the Aboki FX saga, where the online, the website gives information on both parallel and official rates, was blamed for the woes of the Naira, and site is no more. Then we had the CBN then said it wasn't going to give monies to certain forex bureaus, but we'll go ahead and start giving more of the money, the US dollars or the foreign exchange, to the commercial banks. So Nigerians being urged from the streets, you know, from the black market to the banks, in a bid to protect the Naira. So I do not know what the intention of this policy is and how it's going to affect the Naira.
So the big question here is, as much as that might be the case, you also need to, I mean, we need to take into cognizance the fact that the CBN is the nation's, the head of the nation's bank. And so if you're now saying you're not going to be supplying Forex, to these banks, the question will now be the CBN. Where do you want them to source it from? Because at the end of the day, the pressure is going to be mounted on the battered economy. And we probably might just be looking at the dollar, 2,000 naira to a dollar. So that's a lot of pain for the common man, the average Nigerian. I mean, there's a lot that we have to grapple with at this point in time. You look at the fact that the number of persons that are unemployed, unemployment is a big issue. Insecurity that have made a lot of investors pull out. As much as we think that this is a joke, I really do not know across the entire country. There are businesses that have crippled because of the insecurity issues that we're faced with. And so that's number one. You also have the fact that inflation also, it's on the other side. I mean, it's top on the charts. With all of this, now we're also grappling with the issue of fuel scarcity and, the prices and every other thing going up. So it's a lot of pain right now. I'm also hoping that, the CBN governor, we have a lot of intellectuals in this country. I mean, and we're hoping that we would look at policies that would actually, at this point, reduce the pain of Nigerians and not really increase it as much as it is. Because sometimes you have policies that are very good. I mean, not to say, there's some policies that are the intentions might be very genuine and it probably will lead us somewhere. But you also need to look at the timing and you begin to ask yourself, at what point do you introduce it? Because if you have to introduce it, then you probably would have already put some measures in ground. But we hope that we speak with you.
I was just about to say that the central bank governor, Gordon Emefiele, is saying that the decision is in line with the commitment of the Apex Bank to boost the country's foreign reserves through proceeds from non-oil exports. Proceeds from non-oil exports. So, sale of foreign exchange to deposit money banks by the end of the year. What is it going to cost? Because we know that from basic economics that prices will rise if you have much of something chasing a few of something. So if where are Nigerians going to go to get the US dollars? I don't think they don't know what they're doing, but I'm curious to know where, Nigerians to go to get the US dollars. So, if you have a lot of people going out for a few USD in circulation, then of course you expect that the dollar naira rate is going to spike up. So I don't know what the plan is, but I think they have something in mind.
No, so the plan already is this. I mean, without having to get the that's the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, to speak with us, the issue of revenue generation is very big for us. We haven't been faring very well with generating revenue. And of course, every government will want to right now, every means and anyhow to generate revenue without thinking would be top on the charts. And it might feel like that's what's going on. Because yes, it probably might just be a way of, generating the foreign reserve and ensuring that, the foreign reserve is on the high. But the point now is, what's the implication of this action of the CBN on the economy? And so, at the end of the day, governance is very important. We need to pay attention to the people that we're governing and understand, the plight of the people. And that's what Nigerians are actually asking for. But fingers crossed, we see how all of this unfolds. And we'll probably speak with, an economist.
The foreign reserves have really taken the battering. It dropped by 537. This is in February. This same month. It was reported to have dropped by $537.45 million. That's the amount of money that was that left the nation's foreign reserves between January 4 and February 4, 2022, according to the latest data on the CBN's website. So what you had there, just between the month of January and February, it was a $537.45 million reduction. And it's been adduced, or the reason for this could be that the CBN has been doing everything it can to support the naira. Taking money from the reserves. Nigeria sells oil, makes some money, puts in those foreign reserves, and then it has to take those dollars, put it into the economy so that you can have more naira in circulation, and then probably the hopes are that it would boost the exchange rate, help the naira rise, if you have more dollars in circulation.
But with this action, do you think that
it seems this is a change of strategy because he's been taking USD and giving to banks, taking USD and giving to, just to make sure you have enough in circulation. And this seems to be a change in policy. But and I think another thinking could be that if you have, because nations, the strength of currency of nations can also be tied to how much the extent of the size of their foreign reserves. You understand? If you have a healthy foreign reserve, it can make your currency strong. So I do not know, but the external reserves stood at $40.518 billion at the beginning of this year and declined to $39.98 billion as of February 4, 2022. That may be a concern.
So the concern here is, as much as we need to move away from this, we're talking about, like I rightly mentioned, the overall goal would be that the CBN and, of course, the Nigerian government thinking of how to regenerate revenue, have, that foreign reserve. But does this particular action help in stabilizing the Naira and increasing our foreign reserve? It's, a question that we have, and we hope that we have an economist and an, professional actually answer that. Away from that, you also have another top trending conversation, really sad. I mean, I particularly had to look for this young man and his page, a man who sexualized a 14-year-old neighbor. And I don't know if time will permit, so I probably just go through his script, even though he has actually put out another write-up. And so he said, so he has a neighbor who's left a 14. So funny how our neighbor is trusting me with a 14-year-old daughter. And ma'am, with this thing she's carrying front and back.
Oh, man.
I don't.
Oh, man.
Oh, ma'am, I don't trust myself. They're traveling to the village for one relative traditional wedding, and probably they're going to come back on Sunday or Monday. And he also mentioned that they can't take their daughter along because of school. And me, I'm staying home throughout this weekend, and because of some personal reason, it's got not wonderful, really. So this is, and she said she was smiling up and down, and I just pray, oh no. I don't even want to go through all of that because it's really sad.
He said he shouldn't oxalate. What is the meaning of I shouldn't oxalate?
No, but you can't take out the fact that we don't understand what that means. I mean, if you've been following the trend, we recently saw the sex tape of Oxlade.
I haven't seen the sex tape.
He's actually on there. And so this is really pathetic. This is really sad. This is really a pedophile putting out a script. The good thing is that Nigerians actually, I like the fact that, social media would have a strength and actually weakness. And he's come out to debunk and said, he's deleted it, it was just a joke. Well, how do you even joke about this? Because this is a 14-year-old that we're talking about. And so moving forward, you look at this young man, is it okay for you to entrust, a minor around him? It's quite unfortunate that we see a lot of 14-year-olds and below 14 and above who are constantly being taken advantage of, to those who should protect them, from their teachers to their parents and to their uncles and aunties, family, relative teachers, neighbors, and what have you. It is really, really sad. But as parents, we have a role to play. I'm saying, the family we constantly cannot say because we're chasing money, we need to, make a living, we need to pay the bills, and we don't pay attention. We need to pay attention. The times are quite not favorable, and you just can't entrust, your children. And even if you do, there's a lot of work to be done. So yes, I'm hoping that we get to that point, and everyone, you pay attention to the people you leave your kids with, including the teachers in school. I've had my own share of experience, but I'm sure that some other day we'll get to talk about all of this one. But it's really, really, really sad, and that this is what society is about. And so the support system need to be out there to ensure that we protect, these minors.
Absolutely. It's really disturbing. And you've said, it's not a one-off, Mercy, that even, personal experience and all that. A lot is happening that is not being addressed by society, the family, the religious circle, the government. We need to look into the welfare of children. You mentioned the Child's Rights Act yesterday, and when I hear people talk about the Child's Rights Act, I laugh because even for states that have passed it, not in a condescending way, but it's laughable. For states that have passed it, it's just on paper. You know, the things,
course.
the things that paper says. I don't even know if a commissioners for women affairs and social welfare,
Including the police.
and the police and the governor, even know about the words, because it's just like the governor of Lagos State seeing 3 children and picking their bills and all them, but there are kids everywhere. So the issue of children welfare, or the welfare of the child, in Africa, it's relegated. In our society, children are taught to keep quiet, and taught to, just shush and hush. It's unfortunate. Why has the police not said anything about this till now? Why have we not had? I don't know. Maybe if they have, I haven't seen it. I don't need women rights groups to come and be saying things like this. It's not going to change anything. Before even the women rights groups come, even men should say, it's not even women's rights things. The police by now should have picked up and said, explain what you're saying. We see what's happening in UK. Someone kicked the cat and is losing his sponsorship deals. We need to be hard on things like this. It has no place in our society.
Well, we need to move away, and hopefully we have this conversation some other time, and where we would look at issues very extensively. When we return, Off the Press would be right in front of us. We'll look at all of the papers being made available by a newspaper vendor. Please stick around.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Welcome to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time for us to take you through the pages of our national dailies, and we have G.D. Johnson who joins the conversation. It's good to have you join us this morning, G.D. Johnson.
Good morning, Messi. Good morning, Kofi, and good morning to all our viewers all over the world.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson. Thanks for joining us.
All right, let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper this Friday morning, and the attention would be on the top caption or top banner header this morning. And the first is the adulterated fuel crisis. Blame game continues. Q refused to go away. And a lot of persons are asking why, up until this morning, you still have queues in Lagos. We're looking at the Leadership newspaper this morning. And President Muhammadu Buhari still consulting on electoral bill presidency. Yes, we're looking at the Leadership newspaper, and that's what you find. And away from that, you also have CBN Bankers Committee plan $200 billion income from non-oil export. So it feels like the conversation I and Kofi has been having this morning. The issue of revenue generation is big, and the government will go any length to ensure that that happens. 2023 presidency not threatened by Akeredolu's warning, and that's also another one you find. And just before we move away, NNPC Sahara Group flag of 17-kilometer road construction in Edo State. Zulum seeks political solution to insurgency. These are the headlines on the Leadership newspaper.
Let's head straight to the Punch newspaper now with the following headlines. Oyo bullion van robbers, Enugu gunmen kill 5 policemen, others. He has the following riders. Ibadan, motorcyclist, commuters shot. That's the Punch newspaper. Ibadan motorcyclist killed, commuters shot. Hoodlums cut away cash. Motorists flee. 3 policemen manning Enugu checkpoint killed. A POS man shot, and a woman abducted. Really worrying stories as far as security in the nation is concerned. We look at more stories from the Punch newspaper. At the top of that page, front page, petrol transporters gradually halt operation over low freight rates, and it's almost like adding insult to injury. Details on page 22. Petrol transporters gradually halt operations over low freight rates. More headlines from the Punch. CBN to stop forex sale to banks by December targets $200 billion non-oil exports, and only God knows where the banks are going to get their USD from. Electoral bill, National Assembly carpets Malami over self-interest comment. Electoral bill, National Assembly carpets Malami over self-interest comments, and Reps quiz Finance Ministry for 17 billion naira unapproved spending. You know, the amounts of money we're hearing, we keep hearing in on the papers, leaves you wondering. Reps quiz Finance Ministry for 17 billion naira unapproved spending. More from the Punch. NNPC may spend 201 billion naira to clean 170.25 million liters of dirty fuel. Oh my God. Interesting, very interesting. NNPC may spend 201 billion naira to clean 170.25 million liters of dirty fuel. The writer to that story, Buhari orders service providers to compensate aggrieved fuel consumers. Reps demand MRS, Owando others suspension, and NPC customs face probe. Stories or details of that on page 17. More from the Punch. Kwara PDP disagree over take of state buildings over debt. Rep remanded over 185 million naira 419 case bailed, and finally NDLEA seizes 2 billion naira drug in containers from India at Lagos port. These are stories coming on the front page of the Punch.
Let's move away from the Punch newspaper this morning and take a look at the Daily Independent. The banner caption reads, adulterated fuel suppliers must be held accountable. And that's according to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You have 3 riders underneath. Tell foreign diplomats not to interfere in local politics. Reps probe NNPC. Sun, custom orders over bad petrol. And you also have the Britannia EU false inclusion in importation of toxic fuel. That's what you find. 2023 presidency. Sanwo-Olu urges APC leaders to unite for Tinubu, and 30,000 terrorists have surrendered to the military. That's what Governor Zulum is quoted to say. NDLEA intercepts 40,250 kilogram codeine worth 2 billion naira at ports. That's the Lagos port. And Zamfara Assembly asks the chief judge to raise panel to investigate deputy governor. And you also find God is raising young leaders to rewrite Nigeria's history. The PFN president is quoted on that. Buhari consulting over re-amended electoral bill. That's what the aide is quoted to say. And CBN targets $200 billion in forex repatriation with 5 key anchors. And that's it on the Daily Independent.
Well, let's round things off with a look at the headlines on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Toxic petrol firms NNPC in row as Buhari orders sanctions. Toxic petrol firms NNPC in row as Buhari orders sanctions. It's interesting the Nation doesn't go with the term adulterated, but using the word toxic. It has the following writers. Consortium faults oil giants indictment. The president gives directive on compensation of victims. Another headline, or more headlines from the Nation newspaper. Lawmakers wrong to initiate Electoral Act amendment, says INEC. Lawmakers wrong to initiate Electoral Act amendment, says INEC. Banks lose access to CBN's forex cash. With the writers, RT 200 policy takes effect 2023. Diaspora remittances hits $100 million per week. It's quite interesting. And at the bottom of that front page, MTN pays balance for 5G license. Kanu APC factions to reconcile. At the top of that front page, Boko Haram's end is near, says Zulum. 30,000 terrorists surrender is the writer to that headline. Federal lawmakers angry over flight delays. Airlines to be summoned, writer to that headline. 18 Zamfara lawmakers vote for deputy governor's sack. Details on page 7. NIA faults ex-AGF's claims on sacked AG DG. That's acting DG. Details on page 3. And we have Niger to pay for information on terrorists. And finally, troops recover 2 million liters of crude. More of such stories. We have details inside the Nation newspaper. Now turning our attention to Jide Johnson, Chief Lecturer in the Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Mr. Johnson, quite interesting, the headlines we're seeing coming on the front pages today. Let's start with the security situation in some parts of the country, as highlighted by the Punch newspaper, the Oyo Bullion Van heist. And we have also in Enugu, we hear 3 policemen manning a checkpoint have been killed, a POS man shot. In the Oyo situation, 2 policemen lost their lives, and 1 motorcyclist, we call Okada rider, also lost his life, unfortunately. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's an indication of what is wrong entirely with the political, economic, and social systems that we have, and the people are pressured. And when government does not meet the basic need of people, people are forced to engage in criminal acts. When there's a collapse of the social, political, and economic system, the question you ask yourself is, how will a sane man go and attack a bullion van and think that it will not affect the life of others that are surrounding that particular. It's a story that we found ourselves in this situation. It's a sorry state that you have people committing acts on the road and putting the lives of other people in danger. Well, it's a failure on the part of the organizations that are moving their money in providing adequate security for movement of their money. That's 1. 2. It's a failure on the part of the state in providing adequate security for people to go about transacting their business and people to go about their normal life. So it's a failure, it's a systemic failure, and I don't know, may the soul of those that lost their life unfortunately rest in perfect peace, and those that were involved in the crime, may the long arm of the law caught up with them and ensure that justice is done, and we don't have this type of sorry situation and sordid situation in our country.
All right, Jide Johnson, let's also look at the issue of adulterated fuel and the crisis surrounding it. According to the leadership newspaper this morning, the blame game continues and the queues refuse to go away.
Well, for the past 3 days, I've not driven my car. I actually parked, I've been up on Okada and Napep to go to wherever I want to go because, one, I can't struggle to buy fuel. I'm paying for this service. Why should I struggle to pay for services that someone is offering? It's unfortunate that they don't care about us, whether private business owners or even government. If you buy the fuel, you go through traffic, so it's suffering and smiling, like fella said, and the blame game continues. How come? We have different agencies of government. We are paying every subsidy on these petroleum products. There are agencies of government that are meant to ensure quality control and to ensure that what comes in meets up with the standard. And there are various checks and balances. And the president is just ordering, giving directive. Even before we got to this stage, some head will roll. Some should have accepted responsibility. In other climes, the Minister of Petroleum will have resigned, and the Minister of Petroleum in Nigeria is the president. The NNPC chairman will have resigned. But you have a situation whereby allegedly the NNPC chairman himself has a private operating company that are charged with responsibility of importing fuel. Now you see the blame game is going on because sanction has not been applied. What was expected that from a normal administration, from a normal system, is that on Monday, those that are culpable will have been sent on suspension. The NNPC chairman will have gone on suspension pending investigation. And all other agencies of government that are involved in the importation of petroleum products have gone on suspension. But since we are crude in our thinking, since we have a crude system, because God gave us one of the best crude oil, but we don't refine that crude oil, we export those crude oil to foreign countries, and then those ones will refine the product. They determine the price which you pay for the crude oil, and then the refined product, they also determine the price which they sell the crude oil to us. And now they determine both prices. We are at their mercy. And some people that are making money out of subsidy or no subsidy, because we don't even know true position, now are importing to Nigeria adulterated fuel. Such people are committing economic crime. They should go to jail. These are the people that EFCC should be going after. But you will not see EFCC going after this one. EFCC would rather be jumping into hotels, looking for yahoo boys, people that are just committing small infraction, small economic infraction, defrauding people. I do not approve of that in any case. However, serious economic crime, crime against humanity, crime against the nation, you will not see EFCC. This type of issue now, I think is where EFCC should go in. But rather, they won't go into this one. They'll be looking for political cases because this is a serious economic crime. It's a serious economic crime. It's meant to destroy the economy of Nigeria. Whoever is involved is committing sabotage. And sabotage, such people that are involved in this heinous crime should be prosecuted because they are trying to bring down a government. You could allege that they are trying to bring down, because if you collapse the economy of the nation, you collapse the politics, you collapse the society. What are you trying to do? You are trying to cause confusion.
Mr. Johnson, just to add to that, the Punch is today reporting that the NNPC may, and I hope we underline that word may, spend 201 billion naira to clean 170.25 million liters of dirty fuel. How does that make you feel?
They didn't have money to establish refinery. They have the resources of cleaning. What is the essence of the refinery? Is it not to clean and process the crude oil into various products that we require? Now you see another avenue for them. They should dump the fuel somewhere else. You don't need it in Nigeria. Why would they clean it? Why would they spend money? You could see the game. You could see the cycle of corruption. Now the question, Kofi, while I was talking, I said, what is this true situation about subsidy payment and subsidy removal? Nobody seems to know. The more you look, the less you see. It's an abracadabra situation. Now, they will spend that amount of money to clean the fuel. On whose account? Who is paying for it? Yet government is complaining that they don't have resources. Let them go ahead with it.
No,
and claim it for themselves.
one of the things is still very, I mean, constant is the fact that the queues have refused to go away as being put out by the leadership, and that's the reality. Because if you move around, you know, because I'm asking in the sense, what would the people do now? What's going to happen? Because we also hear the NNPC saying that we're going to make this product available, and then
today night I took a gamble to drive out, and I saw fuel. You know how much I bought the fuel? I bought it 190 per liter. 190 per liter. That's how much I bought the fuel. Now let's come to we as Nigerians. The people operating the fuel stations, the moment they hear any major rumor with respect to something affecting the supply chain of petroleum products in Nigeria, what happens? They shut down their station and they start selling one pump. If they have 20 pumps, if they have 10, if they have 6, if they have 5 or 4, they start selling one pump. That's not good. That's Nigeria. The supply we have in Nigeria, minus the adulterated form, is enough to serve us for the next 1 month. But being exploitative as we are, the government exploit the people, the business people in Nigeria also exploit the people. It is the downtrodden that suffers most in Nigeria. And you know the saying that says that when 2 elephants fight, it is the grass and herbs that suffer. Now, you ask yourself this question: what will come up upon a fuel station to start selling to dispensing fuel from one pump? Where are the agencies of government and agents of government that needs to go around and monitor whether these fuel stations actually have fuel and they are not dispensing to Nigerians? Now, the moment you hear any slightest rumor affecting the supply chain, we are at the mercy of private individuals operating their business and exploiting Nigerians, apart from government. And you see these people, today they will go to mosques to pray for Jumat service, and on Sunday you see them going to church on Sunday to pray to God and asking God to solve Nigerian problem, asking God to intervene, not knowing that they are the devil themselves that need to change their mind and stop exploiting Nigerians. And I've said it. If it is by prayer, if it is by going to mosques or by going to church, Nigeria shouldn't have any problem. But unfortunately, we have more problems because the people themselves, we the Nigerian people, we are apart from the government, those operating their business and running their business, at every slightest opportunity want to exploit fellow Nigerians. And it's unfortunate. And you have PPMC, an agency of government under the presidency that should go around and monitor. And nobody is monitoring. I told you I paid 190. Some places they sold it 200. And nobody, and they are people that are selling for it. That's why you see the queue. Because if all these fuel stations are dispensing fuel from all their pumps, you won't see queue.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, interesting. I wish you had time to look into the fact that the authorities are lying to Nigerians. Starting with the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency that put out a statement laced with lies, you know. For instance, telling Nigerians that methanol was a regular additive to fuel, but it's added in small quantities and all that. And I mean, we know it's not regular to add it, you know, in terms of the specification for Nigerian cars or cars in Nigeria. Or telling Nigerians that, you know, you had a limited number of petrol affected when it was actually more than 300 million liters. But we'll find time to talk about this some more in the future. But let's go back to the contentious, reworked electoral bill that 11 days after being submitted to Mr. President's table, that green pen has not touched the white paper. The signature Mbuari has not been signed on it yet, 11 days. And what we're hearing in the papers, for instance, in the Leadership newspaper and in the Daily Independent, is that President Buhari is consulting over the electoral bill as far as an aide is concerned. An aide revealed to the papers that he is consulting over the electoral bill. This is coming from the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters. Now, yesterday, Abubakar Malami, the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who was the one who gave legal advice to the president the first time this amendment was passed and sent to the president. He said that the only reason why, or if the bill is based on self-interest or selfish interest, then it will not be signed. Today we're hearing the Punch. National Assembly carpets Malami over self-interest comment or selfish interest comments. What are your thoughts on that? Because the elections are meant to hold on February 18, 2023.
Let's just oppose that with what INEC said in the Nation newspaper. When INEC said it's wrong for lawmakers to initiate electoral bill amendment. Now, INEC is a major stakeholder, in fact, a critical stakeholder in the Electoral Act. Now, INEC is just waking up to tell us that it is wrong. What initiative did INEC make, or what presentation did they make to the National Assembly? There were public hearings with respect to this amendment. Did they make their representation and other critical stakeholders? Now, if someone says the president is consulting, the president is consulting who? The critical stakeholders in the democratic project of Nigeria are, one, the lawmakers themselves, the political parties, the electorates, and INEC. Now, if you ask an average Nigerian, if you do an opinion poll, you do a straw poll, and then you see what's the view of an average Nigerian with respect to the passage of the electoral bill into an act of the parliament, with the president assenting to it, you know that majority of Nigerians are in support of it. If you ask the National Assembly members who are actually involved in it, they are interested in it. So you have two critical stakeholders. Who are other stakeholders? The party system. I keep asking myself question. There's something dysfunctional about APC. APC controls the National Assembly. APC is the party in the presidency. Now, APC is the party in power. Now, it is APC-led National Assembly that passed the Electoral Act in the first instance. The president did not assent to it. It is APC-led National Assembly that passed the amendment, listening to comments left, right, and center. Now, the president and the Attorney General is saying that the president consulting, the media is saying the president is consulting who? And then the Attorney General that should advise the president with respect to providing a legal framework for us having an election in 2023 and not use a document that was passed in 2011 to run an election in 2023. That is saying that they are doing it for selfish interest.
We know the governors are also interested in this and have paid visits to Aso Rock as well. Maybe that could be another block, given the APC governors are opposed to some clauses in the rework bill.
And then that's why I said something is dysfunctional with APC as a party. There's what is called, if you look at the party structure of any political party, there's what is called the National Caucus of the party. The National Caucus is made up of the leadership of the National Assembly, the president, governors elected on the platform of the party. That's the National Caucus. Now, the question you ask yourself, I think governors from each of the geopolitical zones, the question you ask yourself is produced by the party. When was the first time or the last time APC had their National Caucus? To harmonize their interest so that they all work in tandem with one purpose and with one goal. The National Assembly will not be going in the wrong direction, the governors will not be going in another direction, and the presidency will not be going in another direction. So we see that it's like they are a rudderless ship without direction. And as a result of that, they are creating chaos and confusion for Nigeria with respect to the passage of the... I still can't comprehend, and I'm not yet being able to come to terms with the fact that the signing, the assent of the president to Electoral Act will be dramatized this long. Whatever inputs the president wants to make, he has it into the National Assembly. He's liaising officer to the House of Rep and to the Senate. Now, they could have passed in whatever input the presidency want to put into the Electoral Act before we get to this stage of this drama. And then the Attorney General could have related with the National Assembly on this matter. And the National Assembly could have sent the bill to the office of the Attorney General for his input before they actually pass the bill, so that they harmonize all of this. But what do we have? It's an enlightened self-interest. It's not even enlightened self-interest. It's selfish interest.
Mr. Johnson, we have about 369 or 368 days till the elections in 2023. We just have about 8 days before we get into, or 7 days rather, before we get into the 18th of February. INEC needs to release the electoral timetable. Do you suspect that it may not happen? This bill may not be signed in time, and INEC may say, well, we've been waiting, nothing is done, so we can't use this new law. We'll have to kick it down the road till the next election.
Those that come up with representative democracy and the system of government that will practice ensures that in such a situation there are checks and balances. If the president did not sign the bill, why can't the National Assembly override the president with a 2/3 majority across? Why? That's the principle of checks and balances. Why can't they? Why can't they override the president's veto? Do they have, if they really love Nigerians and if they truly believe in the bill that they've passed, they should override the president with a 2/3 vote, and then let's have an enabling law that guides the election.
All right, Jide Johnson, thank you so much for your thoughts this morning. Always an interesting time listening to you share your thoughts on some of these national issues. We look forward to having more of you on the show. We appreciate your time as always.
Thank you, Mercy, and thank you, Kofi. Have a wonderful weekend.
And that's the size of the package for the Off the Press. We'll definitely return with Off the Press on Monday. We will be taking a look at what happened today in history, being the 11th day of February. And when we return, it will be time for our first major conversation where we look at women, girls in science and technology. Please stay with us.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on PlusTvAfrica, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not rouse what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
It's also equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, they go beat you.
Now you draw the 5 and they pay.
Working better equality and empowerment of women and girls, the United Nations General Assembly adopted A/RES/70/2112, declaring 11th of February International Day of the Girl Child. And to join the conversation this morning is Professor Omolade Okoa. She's the president of Organization of Women in Science for the Developing World in LASU. It's good to have you join us, Professor Omolade Okoa.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's start with it. Being that this day it's a global event as we speak now. What is the significance of this day, and what does this mean for us as a country and as a continent?
Well, today is a very important day globally and also in Nigeria, because Nigeria is in Africa, and African women and girls have been underrepresented in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. If you go to most universities in Nigeria, you see few girls in engineering class, mathematics, and even computer science. And the aim of the International Day is to achieve gender balance, because science and gender equality are both vital for the achievement of internationally agreed development goals, which include the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. Women and girls have not been participating well in STEM when compared to men. So in order to achieve this full participation of women, the United Nations in 2015, December 22, inaugurated this International Day of Women and Girls in Science, and Nigeria should not be left out.
Interesting, talking about the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And you've rightly pointed out and given us a bit of a statistic or a picture of the situation, madam, that women and girls are underrepresented when it comes to STEM in Nigeria. Why is that the case?
Well, this starts right from seeing some certain discipline as male-oriented and certain discipline as female-oriented. For example, teaching and nursing. You find 80% of the workforce are women. But we also have young girls that are interested in going into engineering and what we see as male-related job. And the situation is very bad in Nigeria because right from the home, we see parents discriminating between their male child and girl child, which is not supposed to be so because a male child is unique and a girl child is also unique. So they should not, if a girl child says she wants to go to be a pilot, nothing should stop the parents from supporting that girl child. So it starts right from the home. We should encourage our girl child when they want to go into certain discipline that we feel they are men-oriented. And that will help us to achieve gender equality and empowerment of women and girls, because women and girls are agents of change.
Are you saying that in Nigeria today that people feel, and parents in particular feel, that certain fields in science are strictly for men? You talked about engineering, you talked about aviation, for instance, being a pilot. Is it much of an issue now, parents having their daughters going into aviation to be pilots? Do parents really stop their children from going there, or their kids who want to be engineers? Is it seen as a male-dominated field, maybe a mechanical or a chemical engineer? Do parents, is that a thing in Nigeria, that parents don't want their kids to become engineers if they are females, or to become pilots if they are females? Is that really a thing?
Yes, from statistics, the male child is always encouraged to go towards certain discipline, while the female child is encouraged to go towards certain discipline. But it shouldn't be so. If there's nothing wrong, if a girl child wants to be an engineer, so we should support them. That's what I'm saying. We should support them. If a girl child wants to go into a discipline we feel there are more males there, we should try to support them. Right have been males, while only 3% are females. That is a very wide gap. So it starts right from the home. We should encourage, of course, the interest will come from the girl child, but we should nurture it and encourage them.
Okay, so let's also look at the fact that, over the past years, 15 and above, you have the global community making a lot of efforts in inspiring and engaging women and girls in science. But the concern is still the same, as they're still underrepresented. What could still be the factor? I know, yes, that you have talked about, the issue of family involvement, but let's even look at this effort that's been made. It's over a decade plus, and we're still where we are. So what could be responsible for the underrepresentation?
Like I said, it all boils down to gender discrimination. This is it's a very serious problem in Africa. Gender discrimination. We should give girls, for example, a man has a limited income. We prefer to send the male child to school, while the girl child is left to stay at home. So we should give girls and women equal opportunities like men. And even the women themselves are the culprits, discriminating between their male child and the female child. So, and the women that are already in STEM should be role models to girls in STEM. So when they see other women as achieved, that will encourage the parents of the girl child and the girl child themselves. So, and we should improve the STEM education and support our girls at an early age. And also, there should be more research grants and more fun for women that want to go into STEM.
Okay, so all right, just before I let Kofi come in now, let's also ask: are there policy direction? I mean, in Nigeria now, talking about the involvement of girls and of course women in science and technology, mathematics, among others. Do you think that there's a policy direction to that effect, encouraging women's participation in science and technology? Professor Omolade Okowa, can you hear me?
Yes, there is. That's why we have Minister of Women Affairs. That's why we have. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
So that's why we have the Minister of Women Affairs and the association that I belong to, Organization of Women in Science for the Developing World. It's actually an international organization that is has a branch in every university in Nigeria. The purpose is to encourage our young girls, by mentoring them to go more into STEM, to go more into science, mathematics. Schools try to sensitize them, even go there. So that is what the organization has been doing, and we are being backed up by the government.
Interesting. Madam, we're having a bit of a network issue with you, but if you can hear me, what about the role of inspiring young girls to take an interest in science education and in science as a career, even engaging with them to try and stir up their interest? Is that a part that can play, apart from also enlightening, encouraging, and persuading parents that they shouldn't discriminate when it comes to educating their children? It's very important.
There's a campaign, like my organization is carrying out one today, with career talks and workshops, which is going on in all universities in Nigeria to commemorate today. It's an advocacy actually to educate not only the girls but also
okay, we seem to be having some network challenges. Madam, are you there, please? Can you hear us?
That girls should be encouraged to participate in I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. We hear that, tell us more about the importance and the benefits to the economy, not just in Nigeria but around the world, of having more women and equal representation of the genders in the field of science. Because we're talking about the 2023 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Some talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, and I'm told that we have lost contact with our guest, Professor Omolade Okowa, but it's a very important field, science. In today's world, everything in life is being made easy with the employment of science, and we can also say technology. It's really sad to hear, from our guest, who is an expert in the field, that women are highly underrepresented when it comes to science, and she even talked about the Nobel Prize, that 97% of those who win are men. And she's not, and this is not because men are more intelligent than women. This is simply because we don't have enough women in the field. And when it comes to Africa, part of the problem would be that girls are being dissuaded from engaging in what is maybe considered masculine field, and that's really worrying, and that's really worrying. And I think it's important, the kind of work that her group is doing, even the United Nations come with such a day for awareness to be created that girls can get into scientific fields that may be considered to be male dominated and do well. We shouldn't stop girls from getting into these fields. But that's one hand. It's like the law, you have two hands. The other hand is also the interest, like she had just said, of our girls and women in science. Globally even, not just in terms of girls. The interest in the sciences may be waning. You know, how many people want to go into school to study, mathematics and all those kind of things, you know? But here we have our guest back. Professor Molade Okoa, can you hear us, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. We're just trying to find out from you, what's the importance of women having a greater participation and, being involved in the field of science to our economy and also to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals or the 2023 Agenda for Sustainable Development?
Well, it is very important because when women participate in science, first, we achieve gender equality, and there will be empowerment of women and girls. And you know that more than half of the world population are women. And so that is why women need to be recognized not only as beneficiaries, but as agents of change. Women are good managers. So when it comes to STEM, women are also good managers. The few women we even have, they are doing very well in their different areas. And they have made cutting-edge scientific innovations. And so there's the need to encourage more women and girls to go into STEM. For example, the last convocation at University of Lagos, the best student was a female student in science. Even in Lagos State University, the best student 2 years ago was a mathematics student, a female student. So we should encourage women, because when we have more women in these areas that we always think they are male-dominated, that will lead to economic development and economic recovery, because women are agents of change.
All right, so there are also some other arguments that teachers' role in perpetuating or changing gender norms could also be an issue, where you have a study revealing that issues of teacher negative attitude and poor approach to teachings are insensitive to girls and needs, and therefore the approach actually needs to change. Some others have also said that you don't seem to have like a role model, and so if you look at the schools, you seem to have more male teachers than female teachers, and this also could also be contributing to having more of girls involving in science and related courses. Do you agree with these postulations?
I don't agree with your postulation.
Not mine.
Because,
they are not my postulations. They are arguments, for those who are, looking at the course of involvement of women in the issue of science and technology.
Well, I don't totally agree, because in Nigeria, the teaching profession, we have even more women than men. Men prefer to go into business and other things. If you go to a secondary school, we have more female teachers. But if it's in science, and our tertiary institution is more male dominated, and that is why the Organization for Women in Science we serve as mentors, and we're known to mentor these students right from the secondary school days and encourage them to go into science-based courses. So I agree also that we know gender role.
So we seem to be.
It's not in the area of discipline. So,
well, we seem to be having a bit of
in science, technology, education, and maths. Not only, also.
Well, we don't seem to be having, smooth connection with Professor Molade Okoa. It probably might be, the issue of women not being involved.
Not being involved in the network.
I mean, that's on a lighter note.
But you might be surprised that could be the reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's on a lighter note.
That could be the reason.
But this is actually very important.
Very important.
This conversation is very important, and we hope that beyond the 11th of February that we're able to sustain this conversation, and you also have some deliberate efforts from relevant quarters. I mean, mean, it goes beyond just saying, yeah, there's a Ministry of Information. Sorry, there's a Ministry of Information or Women Affairs. And what does that ministry do? I mean, what's the itinerary? What are the activities? What are the policy direction to ensure that you have women, you know, girls involved in all of this? But most, on top of the list, one of the issues she's mentioned is the issue of culture and all of the religious barriers that we probably would have. And I think that if we actually take it from that angle, then we probably might just be making some kind of progress. We live in a society where, I mean, there's a lot of norms. I mean, a lot of things. Some parts will believe that, hey, women, you belong to the kitchen, and so you have no place here.
There's those girls who were stopped on the road by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. I don't know why I like calling his name, but I mean, we pay our taxes in Lagos State, so
why not?
You know, one of them said the mother is a teacher but couldn't afford the fees. The Igbo girl, because you know she went to private school. She didn't go to government school, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the parents don't want to send their kids to government school." But the second one, the Hausa girl, said
usually when people...
gender acculturation.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So you want to... No, it's just a simple term to describe the act. So you have a boy child and you have a girl child in the house. And, you know, usually the way they're being, you know, the way they've been brought up, they're being introduced to having, you know, the boys playing with, you know, having to play with...
Okay.
Do we have a guest? I think we do have a guest back.
Yes. Professor Malade, can you hear us, please? Are you there? Prof, are you there? Yes, can you hear us? Yes, fine, fantastic, yes.
So let's quickly share your thoughts on this. I mean, this was one, we're just having a conversation right here in the studio, and the issue of gender acculturation. Do you think that gender acculturation has also contributed to not having women represented, I mean, women being represented in science and technology?
Please, can you repeat that question?
So the issue of gender acculturation, do you think that has do you think that has contributed to having, you know, the number of women being represented less?
Exactly. I can hear you well. So.
Yeah, so we'd like to share your thoughts. Do you think that has contributed? Because we constantly look at the efforts that's been made globally. We also see efforts that are being made. We're not saying that women are not and girls are not involved in, you know, science and technology, especially, you know, from schools. But we're saying that if you look at the statistics and juxtaposing that with that of, you know, the boys or the men, there's no equal representation. And so the factor of gender acculturation, could that be also an issue that is contributing to having, you know, less representation?
No, we train our girl child, no, as if they are not meant to work. They're supposed to be in the kitchen. No. So African women need to change. It starts from our culture, and women need to change. And that is why it is a day for women and girls in science. No, our mothers should stop discriminating between their male child and female child. And so if we can start meet that problem in the board, you find...
Do you think government at the different levels or tiers...
In 2015, we had 21% participation of women in STEM. It has increased to 24% now in Nigeria, even though that is not encouraging, but there's an increasing trend. The 3 areas of government, they've been trying in that aspect, giving scholarship to girls and encouraging the girl child. And even with the first ladies in most of the states, they have projects to increase the participation of women and girls in STEM. And some of them even go out to empower women. When a woman is empowered, she will even train a girl child. So this is very important, and the first ladies, the government have been doing it in their own small way, but those in private organizations and NGOs
really had like a smooth fine talking due to the network challenges. But we do appreciate your time this morning and all that you're doing for women in science and development in LASU. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right then. Well, that's the size of it.
So it's a
And
bit,
beyond having this conversation, like we always say, I mean, faith without works is dead. So
It's interesting. She said women or mothers are the biggest culprits. Discouraging their daughters from getting to these perceived male-dominated fields. And I think we need to change that. We need to make sure that our families, parents, mothers, and fathers encourage their daughters. But I think that a major issue would be the
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart.
It's never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
If it wasn't trending in the entertainment industry, then we'll definitely be talking about it.
We bring you the funny, controversial, and hottest topics making waves in the entertainment scene worldwide.
We also interview all your favorite celebrities and keep you locked down with fun segments and live performances. Tea Time, showing every weekday at 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and of course the repeat at 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Niger, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Breakfast. Lower National Legislative House, the House of Representatives, has asked the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to suspend companies responsible for the importation of the said bad fuel. However, this has led some to ask who the House of Representatives is referring to, since the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has always said, at least since 2007, when Ibe Kachuku was the Minister of State for Petroleum, that it, the NNPC, or the ESWA NNPC, is the sole importer of fuel into the country. Well, yesterday, after more than 48 hours of this issue coming up, the Group Managing Director of the NNPC Limited, Mr. Melekari, named some companies whom he said were responsible for bringing the fuel, the dirty fuel, which was mixed with high amounts of methanol into Nigeria, saying Nigerian authorities do not test imported petrol for methanol. And we'll be looking at this later with an analyst. But this has, led to some questions. For instance, where did we get it all wrong? And it's an important question to ask. Mercy, this has been an ongoing conversation since Monday with the queues popping up. I first saw the queue on Monday in a cab heading to some other part of Lagos, Ikoyi. And just after Falomo, I saw hold up. And I'm not used to seeing hold up there. So I said to the taxi driver, what's going on? He said it's a traffic light. So we queued behind the cars. But after a while, the thing wasn't moving. We came out and saw that it was a queue for a petrol station that was across on the other side of the road, And we're seeing the government agencies coming up with statements that, for me, are, for want of a better term, an insult on the collective intelligence of Nigerians. And they took their sweet little time to speak to Nigerians. The NNPC, which says it is the sole importer of petrol into the country, waited till yesterday, Thursday, to talk to Nigerians. Today is Friday, right? Yeah, waited till yesterday, Thursday, to talk to Nigerians. It happens, Mercy. And why wait that long? Now, we go to the statement of the regulatory authority that replaced the DPR, which was the ESWA regulatory authority, and the PPPRA. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority. That statement that was released, first of all, there was no apology to Nigerians. Secondly, it tried to downplay the situation by telling Nigerians that a limited amount of PMS was affected. And that for me is an insult, I'm sorry to say, but an insult on the intelligence of Nigerian petrol consumers, or those who buy petrol in this country. Limited amount. So you're going to tell the individual whose car that is the only thing he or she may have as an asset has gone bad, or for those who took loans, bank loans to buy those cars, has been destroyed, that a limited amount of fuel is involved. That is an insult. Then secondly, you now lie to Nigerians. They're telling them that methanol is a regular additive to petrol, but is added in acceptable amounts. Really, now we're hearing the truth, which a lot of people who did some, like I, did some investigation. No, that was a lie by a government agency which is tasked with the responsibility of policing, of regulating the midstream and downstream, telling Nigerians a lie that methanol is a regular additive to petrol when Nigerian specification of petrol does not accept methanol. Even MRS put out a statement yesterday and said the same thing. And the NNPC DG is also saying that they don't test for it. So why would a government regulatory authority be lying to Nigerians? And this is a sackable offense. Sorry to be this, because people's cars have gone bad. It's a sackable, and so it just makes Nigerians wonder: is this how government in the country takes the citizens for a ride and takes the citizens for granted? Because if you really, as government, as a government agency, you respect the people, you see yourself as serving the people, you will be profusely apologizing for what is happening and not talking and acting as if you don't owe the people an apology or the truth or an explanation.
In all of this, you ask yourself, where's the Minister of Petroleum Resources? I mean, you ask who is the minister, and that's the president. The president who oversees this, sector or this ministry has not come out to say anything. And if things actually go on like this, the minister should be held responsible. I mean, without any sentiment here. But unfortunately, it is what it is. Over time, you ask yourself, you've talked about, you have actually done the 9 years of the conversation here. We have a body who should regulate police and ensure that we have the right products. But what is it that we're experiencing is the fact that Nigeria, Africa over time, we have become a dumping ground for all of these junks. And so it's the level of impunity. For instance, you remember this morning we talked about the fact that there's also a budget for the NNPC trying to take out or sift out the bad products, the bad oil, and that's going to be a lot. So why should we even be delving into this in the first place if we had our refineries functional? Do we have any business exporting our products and trying to import it back? So this is some of the questions we're hoping to answer.
Folashade Oladui is on with us now. She's a lawyer. Folashade, good morning to you. Can you hear us, please? Hello, Folashade Oladui. Are you there, please? Okay, we're still trying to connect with her, and once we do that, we'll put her on the air. Mercy, you've said it all, and the saddest part of this, one of the sad aspects of this, Folashade Oladui, are you there, please? Can you hear us? Okay, we'll try and get a technical team on it and see if we can get the connection right. So one of the sad aspects of this is that, the opaqueness of the oil and gas sector in Nigeria, has come to the fore again. The fact that these guys have controlled this sector as if it's their personal thing. They are handling this oil and gas and petroleum and all that as for Nigerians, in the interest of Nigerians. The money of Nigerians is used to subsidize and to pay for this. Nigerians pay through their noses for fuel every day. It's not free. Even the one that is used to subsidize is still government money. And so the opaqueness and the lack of transparency by those who are supervising and overseeing the petroleum industry in Nigeria, shrouded in secrecy. Till now, Nigerians do not know who exactly now. We don't know who is importing fuel into the country. We don't know. Okay, so look at it. Let me not use the word, but look at the funniness of this whole situation. You're saying, as NNPC, that you are the sole importer of fuel into the country. surrounding this, that if it's exposed, will mean.
Until this moment, we constantly talk about Nigeria that was set up, as a business because it was a business. That hasn't changed anything. It feels like the transaction is still ongoing, and constantly you see Nigerians being shortchanged. You ask yourself, the fact that we have adulterated products in the market, is that the reason why we don't have all of this pans out? And that's how we end the conversation on Friday. If you missed out on any part of it, it's all right to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're at PlusTvAfrica.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. Relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Niger, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
Are you ready to party right from the comfort of your TV screen? The Rundown's here to save the day. From freshly baked videos to the classics to the youngins and dope conversations, all in one chart. We got you covered. Just tune in to The Rundown every Friday, 10:30 p.m. West African time. The Rundown. Let's turn it up.
A bullion van around Idiakwe area of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, leaving 2 policemen. Operations intensified to apprehend the culprits.
You can see Amateku, you can see the policemen, everybody is here working hand in hand so that we could get the people involved in this, all the exits out of Ibadan or even out of Oyo. It's kind of under lockdown. You can see policemen, you can see security agencies, everybody on the road to ensure that we get to the root of what happened today. As of now, I can't really say anything now because I'm still trying to assess the situation to find out what actually happened. But I can tell you for sure that 2 of my men were shot on the leg. The policemen in the back of vehicle escorting the bullion van shot dead one of the armed robbers. And funny enough, the armed robbers took away the corpse of the killed one.
And Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari has visited the family of late 5-year-old Hanifa Abubakar, who was murdered by her school proprietor Abdul Malik Tanko after having received reportedly a ransom for her abduction. Kano State Governor Umar Ganduje, his wife Hafsat Ganduje, and members of the Kano State Executive Council received the First Lady at the Aminu Kano International Airport. Speaking at the Government House, Aisha Buhari described the event as a miserable one and admonished the Kano State Government to ensure that justice is served.
The Emir of Kano and the whole good people of Kano over the loss of Sheikh Ahmad Baba and also the innocent Hanifa Abubakar. We hope and pray that justice will be done for her that will satisfy all the matters in Kano. So I think the punishment should be done in order to satisfy all the matters in Nigeria.
And responding, Governor Ganduje said he was certain that justice will be served as necessary procedures have been taken to see that such occurrences do not happen in the state.
Hanifa is our daughter, the daughter of all Nigerians. We are concerned and we are happy all the way from Abuja. Even when the incidents took place, you made a press statement that you hoped government will take appropriate measures to see that the culprit was brought to book. And today, you have confirmed your statement, you are here in Kano. So we assure you, justice will be done. And as I have been mentioning, immediately justice is done, the governor of Kano State will not waste a second to sign my whole responsibility to see that justice is done. That is very important for the public to know. 2, we are also taking some measures pertaining to the properties where the incident took place.
And Hanifa's murder case is in court. The next hearing will take place on the 14th of February in a high on the citizens. Correspondent Habila Darufai filing this report is represented in our studios.
Kataf over the years has been experiencing unrest and killings after years of several peace meetings embarked upon by the stakeholders to end the lingering crisis that led to the destruction of houses, farmland, lives and properties. This has forced the community to back up from a peace initiative that has not yielded positive results, rather be at the mercy of God. Speaking at a press conference in Kaduna, the national president of the association, Samuel Achi, says the ongoing carnage in Atiap land has rendered many lives and innumerable properties destroyed in villages like Abuyab, Mazaki, Mawakili, Takje.
Peace with. Are they different from the people that go to perpetrate these acts? That is what some of us don't know. And I felt that is what the security personnel sent in that area should be able to.
Personnel, as there seems to be a disconnect between southern Kaduna in northwest.
The governor was in a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. He said that dealing with the insurgents will not only require kinetic measures, but political solutions as well. The governor was also optimistic that with more cooperation from the federal government, the insurgency, which has lasted for many years, will end. Zulum's comment comes a few days after 104 members of ISWAP and their families surrendered to troops of the Nigerian army in Damboa town of Borno State. And President Muhammadu Buhari has advised diplomats in the country to stay within the limits of their schedules and not meddle in the internal politics of the country as 2023 elections approach. President Buhari said these at the presentation of letters of credence to ambassadors of Czech Republic and the NEC, Creci, Italy, Stefano De Leo, Spain, Jean Ignacio, Selzons, and Israel. Michael Scholl Freeman. The president called for the support of the envoys in tackling rising global insecurity and strengthening of communality. Buhari urged the ambassadors to build lasting friendships in the
area are very good and fruitful, meeting all variety of your people and developing comprehensive cooperation between our nations.
You settle down to your diplomatic responsibilities. I am sure that you will appreciate the uniqueness and strength in our country's political, social, economic, and cultural diversities in terms of both human